God tells you not to tell your plans, it is not because your life is small, it is because what is being carried in you is more fragile than your first excitement can protect. You have felt that strange pressure before, when something good was growing in silence and your mouth wanted to name it too early. You said less than you knew, or you said more than you should have, and afterward the air around the thing felt thinner, as if your words had touched what was still being woven. That is why this message reaches you with a quiet weight, not to frighten you, but to guard you. You are being invited to understand that hidden things are not always hidden because they are absent. Sometimes they are hidden because they are alive. Stay with me, because what looks like secrecy may be protection, and what looks like delay may be mercy. You know how your body reacts when you are carrying something sacred and unfinished. Your chest tightens when the phone lights up, your shoulders rise when someone asks a question too soon, and your mind starts rehearsing answers while your spirit asks for silence. Maybe you have stood in a kitchen with the kettle humming, staring at the counter, thinking about a direction you cannot yet explain. Maybe you have sat in the car after work, hands still on the wheel, feeling the difference between what can be spoken and what must be guarded for a little longer. The room looks ordinary, but inside you there is a pressure that ordinary words cannot hold. That pressure is not confusion every time. Sometimes it is discernment, asking for a slower mouth. Sometimes it is a holy instinct teaching your body to carry a promise without leaking it into every ear. What is happening is not random, and you are not being punished by the silence. You are being trained in stewardship, in timing, in the discipline of carrying a thing until it is ready to be seen without being harmed by attention. By the end of this, you will recognize why certain conversations suddenly feel dangerous, why certain questions feel premature, and why your peace returns the moment you stop explaining what was never meant to be broadcast. You will also see that protection does not always arrive as a wall. Sometimes it arrives attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. As restraint. The hidden season is not empty. It is working on you while it is working for you. And the reason you feel the tension is because your life is no longer made for careless speech. There was a morning when you reached for your phone before your feet had even fully woken, and the screen seemed to call for movement before your soul had settled. You were already planning, already imagining reactions, already drafting the sentence that would make everything clearer to everyone else. But the room still carried the quiet of dawn, and the light on the wall was soft, almost warning you not to hurry the day. You felt your pulse in your throat, and the thought came that some things lose their shape the moment they are chased too loudly. That is the kind of moment this title speaks to. It is not only about private plans, it is about sacred timing in ordinary rooms, where a cup, a screen, a doorway, and a breath can all become witnesses. If you have lived that moment, then you know how quickly eagerness can become exposure. You are not the kind of listener who can remain casual around conviction. You notice the shift before other people do, and that can feel like carrying extra weight, but it is actually the beginning of responsibility. Sensitivity is not superiority, and it is not a badge that makes you above anyone else. It is a form of discernment that is still learning how to stand without trembling. That is why you may feel exhausted after trying to explain what you sense, because not everything that is real can be translated into a sentence without losing its shape. You have learned that some truths arrive in the body first, before language finds them. That is not weakness, it is the way a careful soul is formed. And the very fact that you are uneasy when something feels too exposed means your spirit is not asleep. There is always something nearby that tries to rush you out of that carefulness. It can be a friend who wants details, a family member who asks with innocent pressure, or an internal voice that says nothing matters unless it is immediately proven. Distraction is often louder than danger, and urgency can dress itself like wisdom. You start opening apps, answering messages, comparing your path to someone else's, and the very thing that needed guarding gets surrounded by noise. The enemy of timing does not always look dark. Sometimes it looks efficient, sometimes it looks like momentum. But a hurried heart is not the same as an obedient one, and your life has already shown you the difference. When you feel that push, it is wise to slow down, because not every open door is an invitation, and not every question deserves a full answer. Joseph would understand this. He spoke of dreams before he had the room to carry the weight of other people's reactions. And the story reminds you that revelation and timing are not always the same thing. What was given in one season may need silence in another, not because it is false, but because it is still maturing. You have had moments like that too, where you sensed something from God and wanted to protect it with explanation, as if explanation could make it safer. But sometimes explanation is what exposes it to the wrong atmosphere. Joseph was not wrong to receive. He was simply young in the carrying. And you, standing in your own ordinary life, are being taught not to despise the hidden place. The dream does not die in private. It ripens there. If you keep forcing what needs guarding into every conversation, you will notice a slow weariness spread through you. You will start feeling split between what you know and what you keep offering, and that split becomes noise inside the mind and heaviness inside the chest. That is how repeated cycles begin. Say too much, feel drained, retreat, regret, and then try again with less peace than before. The cost is not only misunderstanding from other people. The cost is your own inner quiet. A thing spoken before it is ready often returns to you wearing the shape of anxiety, so do not treat every silence as a loss. Sometimes silence is the hand of God covering what should not be touched by every eye. If even one of those signs landed inside you, if your shoulders dropped while you were listening, type the words 888 in the comments. Let it be a small agreement that says you recognize overflow, not as noise, but as something being held safely for you. Your fingers writing those words are not performing for anyone. They are simply naming what your spirit has already noticed. Type 888, then come back to me. And when you return, keep listening carefully, because the deeper pattern is not just about what to hide from others. It is about what must be guarded within you until fear no longer gets to touch it. The real conflict is deeper than privacy, and you know that because some of the pressure does not come from outside at all. It comes from the old need to prove, to control, to be understood immediately, to be safe through explanation. That is the place where your plans become vulnerable, because the mind wants certainty before obedience, and the heart wants approval before movement. You may find yourself saying, "If they knew, then I would feel less alone," but sometimes knowing is not the same as carrying well. This is where the message turns inward. Not every delay is about circumstances. Some delays are about identity being cleaned of panic, and until that happens, the voice that speaks too soon will keep trying to lead what only peace can lead. At the root of it, you may be facing a hunger for control that has pretended to be responsibility. You wanted to manage reactions before they happened, manage outcomes before they formed, manage the atmosphere so nothing would surprise you. That instinct is understandable, especially if you have been misunderstood before. But control is a poor substitute for trust, and it makes even good things feel brittle. You do not need to blame yourself for wanting certainty. You only need to see that certainty is not the same as surrender. The hidden plan, the unspoken direction, the private yes in your chest, all of it asks to be carried with open hands rather than clenched ones. Your mind will try to explain away what your body already knows. Your body tightens, your breath shortens, and your thoughts begin building arguments that sound wise but leave you colder. Then your spirit quietly notices what the mind keeps labeling as just stress. The difference matters because anxiety multiplies everywhere, while discernment narrows the field and says, "This part is not for public handling yet." You have felt that tension in the middle of a normal afternoon, standing by a sink or waiting at a desk, when the same old idea of safety suddenly feels false. The mind says, "Say it now, fix it now, prove it now." The spirit says, "Wait, and keep what is precious intact." That is a real war, and it is often fought in the silence between one thought and the next. Some rooms make that war louder. Some conversations leave you more confused after they end than before they began. Some people mean well, but have not learned how to hold what is not theirs to carry. And some environments reward performance over obedience. That does not mean you must turn suspicious or isolate yourself. It means you need discernment about where your words can breathe and where they will be crowded. You already know the feeling of leaving a gathering and realizing your peace has been borrowed by the room. That is a clue. Not every place can receive the fullness of what God is doing in you, and not every listener deserves the first draft of your future. Opposition is often subtle. And that is why it works. It tires you by making everything feel urgent at once, so you no longer know which door matters. It delays you by filling your day with lesser tasks that imitate purpose. It confuses you by turning one clear direction into 10 noisy alternatives. Then it plants doubt and whispers that maybe you heard wrong, maybe you are overthinking, maybe you should just say everything and hope for the best. But hope without stewardship becomes exposure. You do not need to accept the strategy simply because it feels familiar. The very pressure to broadcast too soon may be the proof that the thing is valuable enough to be contested. So here is the turning point. You stop negotiating with what has already been revealed. You stop asking whether you are allowed to guard what God has placed in your hands. You stop treating every pull toward silence as fear and every pull toward talking as wisdom. Something in you straightens here because you realize that obedience is not only about action, it is also about restraint. The threshold is quiet, but it is real. And once you cross it, you cannot pretend the old pattern is harmless anymore. The old pattern has cost you enough. Now the door to a different kind of carry has opened, and you are being asked to step through without announcing the step to everyone around you. Think of your life like a room with a window that has been left uncovered. The light is good, but without shade it becomes harsh, and what was meant to warm can begin to expose too much too fast. Your plans are like that window. They need a covering until the hour is right. The curtain is not a lie, it is part of the design. And when the room is being arranged by wisdom, the hidden thing is not weakened by being covered, it is protected. You may have thought secrecy meant fear, but sometimes it means the house is being prepared before guests arrive. You know the feel of drawing that curtain before the heat strikes the table. You know the small relief of a room cooling down, of the light softening, of the sharp edge of the day losing its force. There is a similar relief in guarding your plan. Your shoulders lower when you no longer have to manage everyone's reaction. Your breathing deepens when you stop translating every sacred instinct into public language. Even your hands become calmer because they are no longer reaching for approval. The point is not to hide forever. The point is to cover until the room can receive what is true without damaging it. That curtain also reveals who trusts the process and who only trusts visibility. Some things become noisy the moment they are shown, and some things become fragile. The protected thing is not lesser because it is hidden. It is in formation. You are in formation too. This is the part where old habits complain because they prefer instant validation, instant response, instant applause. But formation does its best work in the unseen hour. The cloth over the window is not a denial of light, it is a mercy to the room. And what is being covered in you is not being erased. It is being readied. You may feel the temptation to remove the covering and prove that nothing can harm what God began, yet you already know what haste can do. One careless word can invite opinions that never needed a place at the table. One premature announcement can create expectations your current strength cannot sustain. One rushed declaration can make you carry the pressure of other people's timelines instead of your own obedience. So the wiser move is not dramatic, it is steady. It is the hand that keeps the curtain in place until the hour of opening is plain. If you have noticed how often your peace improves when you stop over-explaining, then you are already sensing what this metaphor is saying. The window does not need the whole town looking through it before the room is ready. The light will still come, the view will still be there, but the shape of the hour matters. What was not ready in public is becoming ready in private, and that is sacred work. Hold that image for a moment, because it explains why your heart has felt both excited and guarded at the same time. A covered window can look small from the outside, but inside the room it changes everything. It gives you time to place the table, clear the floor, and breathe without being watched. It lets the walls settle and the dust quiet. It lets you decide what belongs in the room before the light returns. That is why your hidden season is not wasted. It is arranging the inner space, so the thing that comes will not be damaged by the very eyes that might celebrate it. You are not being withheld from your future. You are being protected inside it. There is also an opposition that hates this kind of covering, because secrecy denies it access to your nervous system. When you stop handing out details, the old fear loses its hooks. When you stop narrating every thought, the inner room becomes quieter. You may even feel for a while as if nothing is happening, because the noise of commentary used to masquerade as movement. But movement without protection is not maturity. The curtain remains because the work remains. And the work is not to impress the watchers. The work is to become ready for what the light will reveal at the proper time. If this image is landing in you, then you already know what must happen next. If the covering on that window speaks to you, type the words "I see it" in the comments. Let it be your way of saying you recognize the protection hidden inside the restraint. Write it and then come back to me, because the window is not the end of the story. What comes next is the choice to trust the covering long enough for the room to be prepared. Coming back to the room means you stop arguing with the curtain and start honoring the hour. You wake up and notice the difference between a closed mouth and a guarded heart. You sit at the table with your coffee and no longer feel compelled to prove what is still unfolding. There is a peace in that, and it is not passive. It is disciplined. You are learning that not every truth must be spoken the moment it is felt, and not every feeling is a command. This discernment will keep saving you from unnecessary exposure. It will also teach you which conversations can wait and which prayers should stay private until the shape is clear. The question is no longer whether you are allowed to guard what matters. The question is whether you trust that hidden preparation can still be holy. The answer is already rising in your chest. It sounds like restraint. It looks like patience. It feels like a steady hand on the curtain while the morning grows brighter outside. And because the room is being prepared, you can let the silence do its work without calling it absence. Notice how different that is from the old survival habit of speaking, because silence made you nervous. You used to rush toward explanation the way someone rushes toward a door when they hear an unfamiliar sound. Now you are learning to listen first. You are learning that some movements are invisible until they are ready to be seen. That new patience is not weakness. It is strength with a lid on it, and it is teaching your life to breathe in a way that no audience can dictate. What has changed is not merely your information, it is your relationship to exposure. The room is not asking to be empty, it is asking to be ready. The window is not asking to stay closed forever, it is asking to open at the right hour. That is the difference between fear and wisdom. Fear hides because it is ashamed. Wisdom covers because it is faithful. One of them shrinks the future, the other protects it until it can stand in the light. You may still feel the tug to prove that you know what is coming, or to call attention to the thing you have been carrying. But every time you resist that tug, you strengthen the muscle that knows how to wait. Every time you choose a quiet answer over a rushed one, you create room for peace to settle. Every time you let the curtain remain, you are telling your heart that not all safety comes from being seen. Some safety comes from being kept. And what is being kept in you is being kept because it matters. Let that sink in, because it changes the entire shape of obedience. You are not being asked to become secretive for the sake of mystery. You are being asked to become faithful for the sake of formation. There is a difference. The first hides to control. The second covers to protect. And the life that learns that difference stops mistaking panic for urgency. It starts moving with clean hands. If something in that uncovered room has made you breathe differently, let your like be your amen without words. Not as a metric, as an agreement that the protection was named correctly. Let that quiet response stand between you and the old habit of demanding proof from every moment. Then keep going with me, because the room is not the whole house, and the house is not the whole path. There is still a story to walk through after the curtain. There is someone in your life who needs this exact message tonight. Someone quietly tired and carrying more than they have admitted. Someone whose face just came to mind while I was speaking, maybe because they have been living with a covered window of their own. Send this to them. Not as a recommendation, as a delivery, the same way it was delivered to you tonight, by appointment. Before this closes, type the words "I am chosen" in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a performance. As confirmation that you are learning to live from what was guarded, not from what was exposed. Let your fingers do what your spirit has already begun to know. Type it slowly, and then come back to me, because the meaning is larger than the words themselves. When you look back over everything now, you can see the thread running through it all. The warning was never against hope. It was against premature exposure. The tension in your chest, the quiet in the room, the urge to explain, the relief that came when you held back, all of it belonged to the same lesson. You were not being denied a future. You were being taught how to carry it. The curtain, the window, the room, the light, each one has been speaking the same message in a different way. And now the message is becoming simple enough to obey. The plans you thought you had to announce were never meant to be thrown into every atmosphere that asked for them. They were meant to be stewarded until they could breathe. You can feel that now in the way your shoulders are no longer fighting the moment. You can feel it in the way your breath slows when you stop rehearsing explanations. You can feel it in the way the room of your own life seems less crowded when you stop letting every voice through the door. That is not fear. That is wisdom, returning you to yourself. So keep the curtain where it belongs. until the hour is plain. Keep the window covered until the room is ready. Keep the promise close until peace says otherwise. You are not late because you are hidden. You are not forgotten because you are guarded. You are being prepared in a way that cannot be rushed without damage. And if the old voice still insists that you need to prove everything now, answer it with the steadiness you have been given. A protected thing survives longer than a public thing that was never ready. You are learning that concealment in this holy sense is not denial, it is care. It is the gentle discipline of not letting every wind touch what is still becoming strong. It is the wisdom that knows a room must be arranged before the curtain rises. And because of that, your life is being spared unnecessary confusion. The plan does not need applause before it has roots. It needs time. It needs shelter. It needs your quiet yes. Tonight, as the window image stays with you, notice that your nervous system has stopped asking for a crowd. Notice that your heart can carry a secret without collapsing under it. Notice that peace returns when you stop interpreting silence as abandonment. That is the real transformation. You are no longer measuring the goodness of a thing by how quickly it is seen. You are measuring it by whether it can survive in God's timing, and that is a wiser scale. Right now, you may feel both the pull of the old habit and the relief of the new one. That is normal. One part of you wants to fling the curtain open and prove there is light, while another part knows the room is not ready for that heat yet. Stay with the second voice. It is gentler, but it is stronger. It is the voice that preserves what you have been entrusted with. It is the voice that keeps the house from burning before the morning. If the covered window, the guarded room, and the quiet hour have settled into you, then you are already being changed by what you heard. The same truth that once felt like restraint is now beginning to feel like shelter. The same silence that once felt empty is now revealing itself as preparation. And when that shift happens in a person, the future starts arriving with less fear. You do not need to force the unveiling. You only need to stay faithful to the covering until it is time. You are confirmed. You are remembered. You are not late. You are not abandoned. You are being returned to what was never destroyed. You are learning to let the room be arranged before the light fills it again. You are learning that the curtain was part of mercy, not part of loss. You are learning that some promises survive best in hidden places until they are strong enough to be seen. Right now, others across the world are receiving the same quiet recognition in their own language, in their own room, at their own hour. And you are part of that wide attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.